On this episode of Variant Reviews, I reviewed the Toys R Us exclusive Marvel Legends X-Men box set. Well, alright. I'm really happy to have this, and let's take a look at the front of the box. Pretty excellent artwork going on here. Look at that. Here's the top of the box. Let's take a good look at the side of the box here. And here's the back of the box. You got all 5 of the figures standing in a little rock diorama there. When you open up the front flap of the box, you can actually see this little window, and you see all 5 figures there. And on the left side, you see basically an animated version of the back of the box where the figures are standing on that rock diorama. When you get in real close, you can see Angel, Marvel Girl, Cyclops, Iceman, and when you go to the bottom, you can see Beast right there. On the right side, when you look at the window, you can see the figs. There goes Cyclops there. Go down, you see Angel, kind of looking cockeyed there. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. You got Beast. He looks pretty dope. Look at that. And you go down the bottom, you get Iceman. Okay. And Marvel Girl, aka Jean Grey. Now, to catch you up to speed, the X-Men first appeared in X-Men #1 back in 1963. It was actually Professor Xavier created a school for gifted mutants to, use their powers for the good of humanity. And he recruited Cyclops, Iceman, Angel, Beast, and Marvel Girl, aka Jean Grey, calling them the X-Men because of their special powers they possess due to the X gene. And basically normal humans lack that, and that's what gives mutants their powers. So here's the breakdown. The X-Men box set is made by Hasbro. The figures each have at least 30 plus points of articulation, and it has all 5 original X-Men. When you get them out of the box and put them all together, similar to the box art, they look great, but it's not until you get in closely and dissect them one by one, you can actually see some flaws that I really wasn't too happy with. But again, I'm happy to have this, but I do have a little bit of mixed feelings when it comes to this set. So I have Angel and Cyclops standing side by side, and one of the first things you may notice is they have the same body. Basically, it's the same exact body mold on the both of them. When you get in closer, you see both figures, and they really do look great. Look at Cyclops, man. He's pretty awesome. Looking at Angel, he's not too bad himself. A nice thing here is the paint detail. I turned down the iris on this shot so you can see a little bit of that paint detail. You see that orangey and yellow paint kind of mixing in together. When you look at Angel up close, the biggest noticeable thing is he's cockeyed, man. He has something wrong with his eyes. It's, oh man, he has like a Notorious B.I.G. thing going on, man. And when you look at the side of the figures, the lack of detail that went into the paint as far as quality control, I guess, is just, it's kind of disappointing. Looking at the hands, you may notice, why does Angel have a trigger finger? What's going on with this? To me, it doesn't make sense. The other hand's not as bad, but it's in a grippy type pose, like he's supposed to be holding something. To show off articulation, I'm going to use Cyclops as the example since they have the same body. Take a good look at his face there. Nice little detail there. And looking at his right hand, he has the same trigger finger thing going on there, which is disappointing. And his left hand's not as bad. He has that signature Cyclops 3-finger little pose thing going on. His head turns 360 degrees all the way around and looks down, looks up. It's very articulated. I'm very happy with the movement on the head. His arm goes all the way around. He has a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, but you really can't get a good bend on him because of the cuff going on right here. So it kind of prevents a good bend there. He has wrist articulation, so it goes down, moves up, and it does turn all the way around as well. He has nice chest articulation. He has this loose belt that you can kind of swivel around. Waist articulation. He also has the hole on his back. Really impressed how the legs are very well articulated. You can get this guy in all kinds of poses. Look at this leg action here. Double jointed knees, calf swivel. He has ankle articulation, and he has an ankle pivot, and don't forget the peg holes at the bottom of his feet. If you want to get him in his signature Cyclops pose, you're going to have to mess with that little arm a little bit because it's kind of funny to get a bend going on, unless you want to do something like this, where it kind of looks like he's doing it, but if you look at the side, he's not doing it at all, so it's kind of like an optical illusion. Or you can just kind of mess with it until you get it to where you're happy. See, I'm kind of just, ugh. So let's go on to Marvel Girl. What I really like about the mold that they chose for is that they really did a decent job of making her look more feminine. And kind of check out her green eyes. That looks pretty dope. That's a nice touch. I like that. One thing though, they almost look as bad as Angels, but not that bad. They're just borderline kind of tucked away into the mask a little bit, at least one of them. When you do turn the head, you can kind of get like a 360 degrees, but it's very difficult to turn the head because of the hair. You really got to force it. You can turn the arm all the way around. She does have a single elbow joint, so she kind of has like this rock, paper, scissors thing going on. Rock, paper, scissors. Now on her right hand, she has kind of an opened hand, and then on the left hand, she has this closed fist, which is pretty dope. Both hands, you can actually tilt up and down and turn them around. In addition, she has the same belt as everybody else, except hers is kind of more loose, and the X looks a little bit bigger on her. She does have like this diaphragm articulation where she kind of just swivels around. She has double jointed knees. She doesn't have a calf swivel or anything like that, but she does have ankle articulation and this ankle pivot. And peg holes at the bottom of her feet. I'm really digging this Beast, by the way. Yeah, I think it's a really good representation of the Beast from the X-Men First Class, at least from the comic. I mean, it's not exactly, but it's pretty close. Now, he does have flaws. If you look closely onto his face, you can kind of see a little bit of speckles, little paint speckles going on over there. His head turns 360 degrees all the way around, looks up, looks down, and you can actually kind of put his head all the way up, but if you go too far, you just pop it straight off. His arm goes all the way around. He does have a bicep swivel. He kind of supposed to have like double jointed elbows, but I think because his bicep and his forearm, they're kind of big, kind of prevents it from kind of bending in a little bit more into his shoulder. But I mean, that's good enough. He doesn't have a forearm swivel, which is that's kind of a bummer, man. It kind of sucks, but what the hell? He has this abdominal crunch, and it bends back way far back, which is pretty cool, and it goes way down. And he has 2 holes on his back. He has an upper thigh swivel. He has double jointed knees. He has a calf swivel. He has ankle articulation and ankle pivot. Now, as far as Iceman goes, I think this is pretty dope, but it definitely isn't a good representation as far as a first class X-Men Iceman goes. You can kind of look in his eyes. He has white eyes, and they really went in on this pearlescent type paint, so you kind of see a little bit of mixture. There's like kind of splotchy here and there. It almost looks like it wants to be translucent, but it's not. He does have an open hand. He's kind of doing like a, West Side, what's up, West Side. On his right hand, I'm not really liking it too much because he has like this carpal tunnel hand thing going on, which, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look like he's doing anything with it. I mean, it looks like he's supposed to be operating a tractor with that hand or something like that. He has great chest articulation. He has waist articulation. This guy's probably the best articulated figure out of the whole bunch. His arm moves all the way around. He has a bicep swivel. He has double jointed elbows. Look at that. Gets in right in there. Look at that. His legs move awesome, man. You can get them all the way out. Doing some Van Damme moves here. He has these great double jointed knees. You can bend them all the way in. Almost like he's doing some kind of Spider-Man type move. He does have some kind of ankle articulation, but he doesn't have an ankle pivot, which kind of bums me out. I don't know why they would do that. Everybody else has an ankle pivot except this guy. Now, before I forget to mention, Beast and Iceman both have peg holes at the bottom of their feet. I forgot to mention that. And also, Iceman does have wrist articulation. It goes up, down, and moves all the way around. And that's for both hands. Typically, I like to start off with my likes and then end off with my dislikes. But right now, because there's so many, I'm just going to start with my dislikes. The first one's really going to be obvious. The paint applications. Boy, those things were horrendous, man. Man, it boils down to a lot of QC issues, I guess. Now, second is going to be that price tag. It kind of ties into the paint applications in a way, because if the paint applications were up to par, then I could see them, it would justify a higher price tag, but definitely not at what it is right now. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this next point, but I do think there could have been a little bit more effort on Iceman. I mean, they're really, apart from him just being white and having that pearlescent paint, I don't. It doesn't show anything to me that this is Iceman. I mean, they could have just included maybe an ice slide or something like that. But other than that, you don't. It just doesn't feel like an Iceman figure. Now, don't get me wrong. I do have likes in this box set. First off, the sculpting. I thought the sculpting was pretty good. I liked it. I definitely don't have any complaints there. Also, the articulation. Each figure had pretty good articulation, except for Iceman. The lack of the ankle pivot for Iceman, that was a downer, and the fact that Beast didn't have any kind of wrist articulation or anything like that, or forearm articulation. But other than that, the articulation overall was pretty good. Also, it's kind of a fresh take on the First Class. Instead of having them look like, I guess the way they did back in 1963. So I kind of like it. It's kind of new and old, kind of all at the same time. So I like that. I mean, I did like some stuff about this box set. Now, what it all boils down to at the end is, if you were to ask me, would I recommend this box set to anybody? And I really couldn't do that. I mean, in good conscience, I couldn't do that because of the price tag. I really feel that these are going to end up being just shelf warmers at Toys R Us, and unless the price goes down, then I could really see, just recommending people to buy it. But, I mean, I purchased it because I didn't have a first class figure set, so this was like an easier way for me to do it instead of having to go out and hunt them down. But other than that, I mean, once I opened it, I was disappointed in the paint applications and some of the articulation issues. But man, I mean, for me, I like it. I don't mind keeping it. I'm not going to go take it back or anything like that. But I just wouldn't recommend this to anybody else. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, say what you will, but that's my review. Thanks for watching another episode of Variant Reviews.